Back in 2012, after the hardcore standoff at Scarborough Shoal, Manila suddenly woke up to a bitter truth. You cannot use polite diplomatic talk to block an encroaching fleet of steel ships. Chinese Coast Guard vessels simply parked themselves on Philippine waters and refused to budge, backed by the implicit threat of the People's Liberation Army Navy lurking just over the horizon. With a defense budget that is just a tiny fraction of Beijing's war chest, the Philippines is forced to play the most dangerous game of do-or-die survival in the entire Pacific theater. What can the most die-hard underdog military in Southeast Asia actually pull off against the dragon breathing down their neck? Let's take a brutally honest look at their armory. A weird mashup of Cold War hand-me-downs and cutting-edge 21st century killers. Do not laugh just yet, because right underneath that rust and those patched-up hulls are some of the most lethal kill zones that could turn the South China Sea into an absolute graveyard. Light tanks and fire support. The Jungle Frankenstein. If there were an award for tactical ingenuity when backed into a corner, I would hand it to the Armed Forces of the Philippines right this second. Just look at their M113 fire support vehicle. In the U.S. military's playbook, the M113 is a battle taxi wrapped in 5,083 aluminum armor, just thick enough to stop 7.62 mm small arms. But over in the Philippines, they pulled off a hardcore surgical mod, ripping the 76 mm Alvis turrets off expired British FV-101 Scorpions, and straight up welding them dead onto the roof of the M113. Those desk jockey engineers back in Washington might call it a disastrous shotgun wedding. But when the Moro terrorists tried to hunker down inside concrete buildings during the Marawi siege in 2017, it was exactly these high explosive squash head rounds from those 76 mm tubes that punched right through the thickest walls. The OP4 called it the Grim Reaper, while the grunts called it an absolute lifesaver. The truth is, when you do not have $10 million for an M1 Abrams, you learn how to make a gun barrel from the 1960s roar back to life. The next one, V150 Commando. This four-wheeled armored rig is so antique, it belongs in a museum right next to Vietnam War relics. Its high-hardness Catalloy steel armor is so incredibly thin that the Marines had to rig up their own 2-inch thick wooden planks bolted to the outside, just to pre-detonate incoming RPG. 7 warheads. It looks straight out of a Mad Max movie, but that Cummins diesel engine keeps on roaring, still hauling grunts through the mud and swamps, where 60-ton heavy tanks would absolutely bog down. Then the LAV 300 series. These 6-wheeled beasts are grinding away with the same improvised wooden plank armor strapped to the hull. Crews call them death traps until the engine starts. Then they become the only ride willing to push through hostile territory. But the game is changing. The Philippines no longer wants to rely purely on hand-me-down gear. Authentic modern beasts are hitting the beach to refresh the bloodline. Up next, Ascod 2 Sabra light tank. Rolling in from Israel, rocking a low-pressure 105 mm main gun, this beast is handing Manila a level of heavy-hitting firepower they have not possessed since World War II. With the tracked variant dialed in for the jungle and mountainous terrain, they are laying down a highly mobile wall of lead. The Sabra 8x8 wheeled variant. Built for the coastal blacktops and rapid response, this 6-wheeled killer can hit 100 km per hour on pavement, while still packing that 105 mm punch. Then the FV-101 Scorpion Resurrection Project. Manila is gearing up to restore 12 original British Scorpions to capitalize on their blistering 80 km per hour speed across the coastal reefs. These 76 mm armed speedsters can hit Chinese amphibious assault groups before they even see what is coming. Moving on to the Panzer II 8x8. This Austrian-wheeled fighting vehicle mounting a 105 mm gun gives the Marines rapid coastal response capability. It can swim across rivers and straits, then roll right up the beach with direct fire support. The message being sent to Beijing is dead clear. We might not have a lot, but what we do have can punch right through your ship's armor, straight from the beachhead. Armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles. If you want to see the textbook definition of diehard, just look at the Simba APC. This is a 4x4 workhorse designed by the Brits but forged right in the hands of local Filipino grease monkeys. Rocking a front-mounted turbocharged diesel engine, the Simba has been the absolute backbone of their internal security forces for decades. But let's shoot straight here. Its steel plating is definitely not a mobile bunker. During face-melting firefights with insurgents, Filipino grunts had to rig up all sorts of field mods, strapping everything from heavy-duty wooden planks to empty ammo cans on the outside to create spaced armor to pre-detonate incoming anti-tank rounds. She looks clunky and covered in dust, but this patched-up lion has crawled through countless kill zones and ambushes to shield the boots on the ground from heavy sniper fire. The next one, M113A2. These legendary aluminum coffins forged from 5083 alloy have now been completely tricked out with remote-controlled weapon stations, letting the gunner dump 12.7 mm lead without sticking his head out to become sniper bait. Over 300 are still grinding away in active service. Then M113A3. The upgraded variant with improved engine and transmission keeps pushing through the worst terrain the archipelago can throw at it. Now this is the AAV-7A1. The Marine Corps is proudly rocking these massive amphibious monsters, ready to bulldoze right over any coral reef to push troops onto the beachhead. These steel boxes can carry 21 combat-loaded Marines from ship to shore at 13 kilometers per hour in the water. Up next, VBTP-MR Guarani. Manila is refreshing their lineup with 28 slick 6x6 beasts out of Brazil. These wheeled fighters rock a 12.7mm remote weapon station and can carry 11 troops into the fight. They are replacing the ancient V-150 fleet that should have retired decades ago. The next one, ACV-15. These Turkish-tracked beasts give the Philippines genuine mechanized capability. Armed with 25mm Bushmaster cannons and carrying 9 infantry, they can slug it out with Chinese amphibious armor. Then, the M113 FSV variants. Over 45 of these fire support vehicles mounting 76mm guns or 90mm cannons provide the punch when grunts need bunkers cracked open. Now the 8th most armored carrier. Israel delivered armored vehicles specifically designed for urban warfare, with mine protection and ambush resistance. Filipino Marines learned the hard way in Marawi that thin-skinned trucks get shredded in city fighting. This represents a hardcore transition from a guerrilla fighting force to a mechanized military packing enough juice to play a fair stand-up fight on the ground. Artillery. The underdog firepower. Philippine artillery used to be a literal living history museum where World War II-era tubes were still grinding away until the wheels fell off. But the arrival of the Atmos 2000 completely flipped the game. This is a 155mm self-propelled howitzer strapped to an Israeli 6x6 truck chassis, delivering exactly what Filipino redlegs have been craving for half a century: shoot and scoot capability. Taking less than 2 minutes to set up and tear down, the Atmos means artillerymen no longer have to stand dead still, like sitting ducks waiting for OP-4 counter-battery radar to paint them and drop steel rain. The next one, Sultan M71. These heavy 155mm towed guns are still in service, requiring entire truck crews to haul them into firing positions. They hit hard when they fire, but moving them is an absolute nightmare in jungle terrain. Then, M114 howitzer, another World War II relic still lobbing shells because the budget cannot afford replacement. These 155mm guns can reach 14 kilometers but weigh over 5 tons, making them a logistical anchor. Up next, Mon 01, 105M. These ancient Korean War-era guns are totally obsolete by modern standards, but still grinding away in reserve units and training battalions. Now the Mon 02, 105M. The slightly more modern version with better range, but still requiring manual loading and aiming. Filipino crews have worked these tubes ragged trying to provide fire support. The next one, OTO Malara Mod 56. These Italian pack howitzers can be broken down and carried by mules through mountain trails. At 105mm, they are small enough to hide but still pack a punch against unarmored targets. Then, M125A2 Cardam. These self-propelled 120mm mortar carriers, mounted on M113 chassis, give the infantry organic fire support that can keep up with mechanized advances. But all that suffering is about to come to an end. With ambitions to bring in MLRS platforms, like the K239 Chunmoo or the Elbit Pulse, Manila is gearing up to lay down some serious rocket rain to absolutely plow through any amphibious landing zone. Up next, K239 Chunmoo. This South Korean system can dump 12 239mm rockets out to 80 kilometers, blanketing entire grid squares and submunitions. Just a few batteries positioned on key islands could devastate any Chinese landing force. The next one, Elbit Pulse. The Israeli rocket system offers multiple calibers from 122mm to 306mm, giving commanders flexibility. The precision-guided rockets can hit specific buildings or vehicle formations. When that hardware rolls off the ships, the era of outgunned artillery will officially slam shut, making way for some real authentic steel punches. Air defense, the patched-up Skynet. If you want to see the absolute peak of creative field improvisation, just take a look at the Philippine Air Defense Net. Here is a hardcore fact that would make fighter jet design engineers cringe. Manila literally ripped M39 20mm cannons out of the husks of rusted F-5 fighters, grabbed some welding torches, and pure pragmatism, and modded them into truck-towed ground anti-aircraft guns. That is not rocket science. That is pure survival instinct. But the days of those scrap metal jigsaw puzzles are making way for a real steel net. With the arrival of the Spider MR missile system out of Israel, the Philippines can finally see and swat down bogies from a 50-kilometer standoff distance. The Spider uses Python 5 and Derby missiles. The Python 5 is an infrared seeker that can nail targets in all-aspect engagements, while the Derby uses active radar for beyond visual range kills. 4 launchers can cover entire island approaches. Down in the lower altitude weeds, the grunts are still humping Mistral MAN pads to stand guard over the islands. These French shoulder-fired missiles can reach helicopters and drones at 6 kilometers. Then the FIM-92 Stinger network. The infamous American manpads is locking down the president's every step with multiple teams deployed around critical facilities. These heat seekers have a proven track record, from Afghanistan to the Falklands. The next one, Oerlikon 35mm CIWS. On their newest hulls, these close-in weapon systems are locked and loaded, ready to spit fire and shred anything that dares to rush in from the ocean. The twin-barrel setup can put 1,100 rounds per minute downrange. Up next, Bofors 40mm L70. These Swedish anti-aircraft guns dating back to the 1950s are still mounted on naval vessels in coastal positions. Old but reliable when aircraft fly low and slow. Now the M163 Vulcan. Some of these tracked air defense vehicles mounting 20mm Gatling guns are still operational, providing mobile protection for ground formations. The 6-barrel system can shred helicopters and drones. Then the M167 VADS. The towed version of the Vulcan sits at airbases and critical facilities, ready to protect against low-altitude threats. Air Force, cavalry in the sky. In a century where everyone is going totally crazy over Mach 2 stealth fighters, the Philippines opted to buy prop planes. Sounds like a total joke right up until you see the A-29 Super Tucano doing its thing. Right in the middle of the tropical jungle where fast-mover jets are just flying way too fast to acquire targets. This toucan bird can loiter overhead for hours, waiting for the slightest twitch from an insurgent before raining down precision-guided munitions with pinpoint accuracy. The turboprop can carry laser-guided bombs, rockets, and gun pods while staying on station for 6 hours. Flying on its wing is the FA-50PH. Do not you dare call it a cheap trainer jet. Filipino pilots call it an absolute lifesaver. Rocking supersonic speed, this is the only thing fast enough to scramble and send a heavy-hitting message to those massive neighbors hovering around the archipelago's airspace. The FA-50 carries AIM, 9 Sidewinder missiles for air-to-air combat, and can haul bombs for ground attack. With 12 in the inventory, they form the backbone of Philippine air defense. The next one, SF-260 Marchetti. These Italian trainers double as light attack aircraft for counterinsurgency missions. Armed with machine gun pods and rockets, they are cheap to operate and effective against unarmored targets. Then the T-41D Mescalero. The ancient Cessna-based trainers are still teaching new pilots the basics. Some have been jury-rigged with surveillance equipment for reconnaissance missions. Up next, S-211 Jet Trainer. These Italian jets provide advanced training and light attack capability. A handful remain operational despite most being retired due to age. Manila knows they are stuck in a lopsided drag race, so they are doing whatever it takes to bring in authentic kings of the sky, like the F-16 Block 70 or the JAS-39 Gripen. This highly ambitious multi-role fighter project is meant to prove one dead serious thing. This airspace is not a place where anyone can just waltz in and bug out whenever they feel like it. The F-16 Block 70 Viper. With AESA radar and modern avionics, this would give the Philippines genuine beyond visual range combat capability and the ability to contest Chinese fighters. The next one, JAS-39 Gripen. The Swedish fighter offers network-centric warfare, data link systems, and the ability to operate from short runways and highways. Its relatively low cost makes it attractive for the Philippine budget. Helicopters, the rotary wing air cavalry. In a nation with over 7,000 islands, choppers are not a luxury. They are an absolute lifeline. The Philippines has officially said goodbye to the aging Vietnam-era Huey fleet to put all their chips on the S-70I Black Hawk. This is the silent workhorse, shouldering everything from ammo resupply drops to disaster medevac. The Black Hawk is not flashy, but it is exactly what you want to see overhead when you are pinned down deep in the jungle. 16 are now operational, with more on order. But when they need a brutal punch to mop up the ground, the Philippines calls in the T-129 ATAC attack helicopter. This Turkish monster hauls enough firepower to shred an armored formation in the blink of an eye. Armed with 20mm cannon, 70mm rockets, and anti-tank missiles, 6 of these beasts provide serious close air support. Backing up those steel punches is the swarm of MD-530MG light attack birds. These agile helicopters mount machine guns and rocket pods, perfect for hunting insurgents in tight terrain. Over 20 are buzzing around, providing quick response. The next one, AW109 Power. These Italian utility helicopters serve as aerial sentinels and command posts. Armed variants carry door guns and rockets for light attack missions. Then the Bell 412. The workhorses for troop transport and logistics, these twin-engine birds haul supplies to remote outposts where roads do not exist. Dozens remain in service despite being ancient. Up next, AW159 Wildcat. Right beneath the cold water, these British sub-hunters are silently dropping active sonars, scouring every single cubic centimeter of water to make sure no uninvited guests are sneaking in through the back door. 2 are operational, with more planned. The Wildcat carries Stingray torpedoes and depth charges, along with dipping sonar and sonobuoy dispensers. It can detect submarines lurking near island approaches. Now the MH-60 or Seahawk plans to acquire these American naval helicopters would give the Philippines world-class anti-submarine capability with advanced sensors and weapons. Out here, mobility is straight-up survival. Navy, the wooden wall turned to steel. For decades, the Philippine Navy was basically a floating museum where the Del Pilar-class patrol ships, essentially hand-me-down retired U.S. Coast Guard cutters, had to bust their asses fighting vicious waves and the sheer overreach of Chinese Coast Guard vessels. BRP Gregorio del Pilar, the lead ship, a Hamilton-class cutter from 1967, now serves as the Philippine flagship, armed with 76mm gun and small arms. It is massively outgunned by modern warships, but keeps patrolling. The next one, BRP Ramon Alcaraz, the second Hamilton-class cutter, providing offshore patrol capability. Like its sister, it is hopelessly outdated but still the best the Philippines has for blue water operations. Then the Jacinto-class corvettes, built for literal near-shore waters. These small patrol vessels are only armed with 76mm guns and machine guns. 6 are operational, conducting anti-smuggling and anti-piracy missions. BRP Conrado Yap leads the class, followed by BRP Miguel Malvar, BRP Artemio Ricarte, BRP Apolinario Mabini, BRP Emilio Jacinto, and BRP Alberto Saguisag. All are ancient and struggling. But that era of wearing hand-me-downs is fading fast. The arrival of the Jose Rizal-class frigates has changed everything. BRP Jose Rizal. This brand-new South Korean-built frigate displacing 2,600 tons is armed with anti-ship missiles, surface-to-air missiles, torpedoes, and a 76mm gun. It finally gives Manila a credible surface combatant. The next one, BRP Antonio Luna, the second Jose Rizal-class frigate, doubling the Philippine Navy's modern combat power. Together, these two ships can actually contest hostile surface groups. The frigates carry Sea Star anti-ship missiles with 150-kilometer range, Sea Scepter air defense missiles, and Blue Shark torpedoes for anti-submarine warfare. Finally, something with teeth. Up next, Tarlac-class landing platform docks. These massive ships serve as the absolute lifeline bridging the archipelago's power right to the frontline outposts. BRP Tarlac. The lead ship can carry 500 troops, multiple landing craft, and helicopters. It is basically a mobile base delivering reinforcements to contested reefs. Then BRP Davao del Sur, the second platform dock grinding away tirelessly, hauling supplies and troops to remote garrisons that would otherwise be isolated. The next one, BRP Batak. This third landing platform dock completes the trilogy, ensuring the Philippine Marines can project force across the scattered islands. Now the Pohang-class corvettes. South Korea donated these ex-Navy vessels to boost Philippine capability. Armed with 76mm and 40mm guns, plus anti-ship missiles. They are old but functional. BRP Conrado Yap. The new one, not the Jacinto class. This Pohang-class corvette provides additional offshore patrol capability. Then BRP Apolinario Mabini. Again, not the Jacinto. The second Pohang corvette adding to the fleet. Up next, the Patrol Killer Medium Mark III boats. These small attack craft carry missiles and guns for coastal defense, able to hide among the islands, then strike larger vessels. Now the MPAC Mark III, the multi-purpose attack craft mounting 30mm guns and provisions for missiles. Swarms of these fast boats can harass larger warships in confined waters. The next one, Fast Attack Interdiction Craft. Donated by the U.S., these high-speed boats conduct anti-smuggling and anti-piracy operations while doubling as potential missile platforms. These waters are no longer a place where you can just casually stroll through whenever you feel like it. Strategic weapons. The giant killers. The Philippines knows damn well they cannot go toe-to-toe matching warship numbers with China. Instead, Manila opts for the assassin's playbook by fielding the BrahMos, the fastest anti-ship missile system on the planet. Blazing in at Mach 3, it gives the opposer zero time to even think, let alone launch an intercept. The philosophy is dead simple. Do not get into a shootout with a giant. Just use a stealth stiletto to stab him right in the jugular from a 300-kilometer standoff distance. BrahMos Shore Battery. Just a few batteries lying low along the coastline is enough for the Philippines to turn its exclusive economic zone into an absolute no-go zone. The missile's supersonic speed makes it almost impossible to stop. The next one, BrahMos Mobile Launcher. Mounted on trucks, these systems can hide in caves and jungle, roll out to fire, then disappear before counter-battery fire arrives. Up next, Spike NLOS. Israel's non-line-of-sight missile gives the Philippines precision strike capability against ships and ground targets beyond 30 kilometers. Man-portable teams can hide on small islands and engage invasion fleets. Then the Sea Star anti-ship missile, already mounted on the Jose Rizal-class frigates. This missile provides 150-kilometer range ship-killing capability from naval platforms. Now the Exocet anti-ship missile. Older stocks of this proven French missile remain in inventory, still capable of sinking vessels, despite being 1970s technology. The next one, naval mines. Thousands of contact and influence mines can be scattered across likely invasion routes, turning choke points between islands into death traps for Chinese amphibious groups. Then coastal defense batteries. Old 75 and 105 guns positioned in caves and fortified positions can engage landing craft and provide direct fire against beaches. Sometimes you do not need a billion-dollar fleet. You just need a missile fast enough to make the adversary pay the ultimate price. Infantry. The ultimate backstop. When it is all said and done, when the birds run dry on fuel, the missiles leave the tubes, and the ships have to fall back. The ultimate fate of these islands still rests in the hands of the mud-covered grunts. Down here, you will see the most ironic paradox of the 21st century. The Philippine military is traditionally tight with the US, but down in the trenches, you will see them slinging Russian-donated AKMs. Why? Because deep in the tropical jungle where the deep mud can swallow everything whole, the grunts do not give a damn about politics. They just need a rifle that will not betray them when they squeeze the trigger. The AKM rifle. Thousands donated by Russia provide reliable firepower in the worst conditions. The loose tolerances mean they keep firing when tight tolerance weapons jam solid. Those finicky old-school M16 rifles are steadily getting phased out by the new gold standard, the Remington R4 and the Sig Sauer M400. A perfect mashup of American pinpoint accuracy and the die-hard ruggedness required for a prolonged meat grinder. The next one, M4A1 carbine. American-supplied modern rifles with rails for optics and accessories. These are gradually replacing Vietnam-era M16s across the force. Then the SAR-21 bullpup rifle. Singapore donated these modern 5.56 rifles featuring integrated optics. They are compact for jungle fighting while maintaining full-length barrel ballistics. Up next, Galil Ace. Israeli rifles in 5.56 and 7.62 provide excellent reliability and accuracy. Special Forces units favor these for their proven performance. Now the MPT-76. Turkish rifles chambered in 7.62 give the Marines heavier hitting power. These are replacing older battle rifles in infantry units. When the firefight kicks off, the air is shredded by the brutal roar of the M60 Pig and the die-hard reliability of the FN Mag or M240. The M60 machine gun. These Vietnam-era belt-fed weapons are still grinding away as squad automatic weapons, despite being officially replaced. Crews know them inside and out. The next one, M240B. The Belgian FN Mag under American designation provides 7.62 suppressive fire. More reliable than the M60, it is gradually taking over as the primary medium machine gun. Then the FN Minimi, light machine guns in 5.56 give squads sustained automatic fire. Some units still run these despite reliability issues in humid conditions. Up next, MPT-76 LMG, the Turkish machine gun variant replacing problematic Minimize in Marine units, better suited for tropical warfare with improved corrosion resistance. Now the Daewoo K3, South Korean donated light machine guns, serving alongside American weapons. These 5.56 belt-fed systems are reliable and well-liked by crews. The Philippine Marines are also steadily transitioning to the HKMG-4 to replace those malfunction-prone weapons. Up from the high ridges, snipers end the debate with the deafening crack of a Barrett M82, SR-25 or Remington 700. Barrett M82. The 50 caliber anti-material rifle destroys equipment and engages personnel at extreme ranges, beyond 1,500 meters. Scout sniper teams use these for hardened targets. The next one, M110 SAS. The 7.62 semi-automatic sniper rifle provides rapid precision fire. Designated marksmen can engage multiple targets quickly. Then the SR-25. The AR-10 precision rifle in 7.62 serves as designated marksman weapon at squad level. Up next, Remington 700. The classic bolt-action rifle in .308, Winchester provides reliable precision for police and military snipers. Hundreds remain in service. The military variant of the Remington 700 with upgraded stock and optics. These serve in Army and Marine Scout sniper platoons. The next one, Steyr SSG. Austrian precision rifles provide excellent accuracy for counter-sniper and security missions. At point-blank range in those close-quarters brawls reeking of blood and sweat, they still put their faith in pistols and shotguns. M1911. The classic 45 caliber handgun remains standard issue for officers and special forces. Its stopping power is legendary, and Filipino soldiers trust it completely. Then the Glock 17. Modern 9mm pistols are replacing 1911s in many units. The polymer frame and high capacity make them popular. Up next, Sig Sauer P226. Special forces carry these 9mm pistols for their reliability and accuracy. They have proven themselves in countless operations. Now the Remington 870. Pump-action 12-gauge shotguns for breaching doors and close-quarters combat. Every unit has a few for urban operations. The next one, Benelli M4. Semi-automatic combat shotguns provide rapid firepower in building clearing. Marine raiders and special forces favor these. Then the Mossberg 500, another proven pump-action shotgun serving alongside Remingtons in infantry units. These grunts might not rock the slickest uniforms, but they have the hearts of warriors who are dead used to surviving with whatever they have got. Special forces, the silent killers. The Scout Rangers. The Philippine Army's elite light infantry unit conducts deep penetration raids, reconnaissance, and direct action missions, armed with suppressed weapons and night vision. They are the tip of the spear. The next one, Force Reconnaissance Battalion. The Marine Corps elite conducting amphibious reconnaissance and raids. They insert from submarines and boats to gather intelligence on enemy positions. Then the Light Reaction Regiment. The counterterrorism unit handles hostage rescue and high-value target operations, trained by American Special Forces. They are deadly in close quarters. Up next, Naval Special Operations Group. The Philippine SEALs conducting maritime interdiction, underwater demolition, and coastal raids. They train constantly with U.S. Navy SEALs. Now the Special Action Force. The National Police Tactical Unit handling urban counterterrorism. Armed with modern weapons and equipment, they respond to hostage situations. The next one, 1st Scout Ranger Regiment. The most elite Army unit with multiple combat deployments. They specialize in jungle warfare and guerrilla tactics. The reality, making the dragon bleed. Do not let the patched-up exterior fool you. The Philippines might be lacking those billion-dollar blank checks, but they have an absolute surplus of grit and stilettos sharp enough to make the giant pay the ultimate price. The hardware might be old, rusty, and improvised, but the sheer willpower of the grunts pulling the triggers is what truly decides the endgame. Beijing can send their 340 warships and 1,500 aircraft, but every island becomes a fortress. Every reef becomes a missile battery. Every jungle trail becomes an ambush site. The Philippines cannot win a conventional slugfest, but they can make occupation so bloody, so expensive, and so internationally toxic that even victory becomes strategic defeat. 7,000 islands, 70 million people, generations of guerrilla warfare experience, and now, supersonic missiles that can sink destroyers before they ever see what hit them. Sometimes you do not need to win the war. You just need to make the enemy bleed enough that they decide the price is not worth paying. That is the Philippine strategy. That is the stiletto aimed at the dragon's throat.